Good morning. This morning I want to talk about my experience during the last 1.5 weeks. I have had a very intense time. It was not only Christmas time and the end of the Advent season, but at the same time there was a huge event from my Guru Swamiji, a Shibir in India, which started 5 days prior to Christmas Eve and which lasted until the second day after Christmas. So it just ended 3 days ago. And on the first day of this Shibir, 5 days before Christmas, I became ill. I had this experience before in my life when I attended events like this from Swamiji. I participated online. The event itself, of course, was in India with about 50,000 people. But I was here at home, I was watching online. I was following the discourses of Swamiji online. And I have this experience, I had this experience before in my life, in the past, that so much happens in the body on the physical level and on the soul level, that the body is just busy and just gets ill. And this time, it was particularly intense, and still is, and was particularly interesting, because I got 2 sicknesses at the same time, and these are exactly those sicknesses I always had when I was a child. I was ill a lot as a child, and these 2 illnesses, they came to me. And they're still with me today. So my body is a little weak and worn out, but I wanted to do this video now, as long as I'm still in this energy of this very intense time. Yeah. So I experienced Christmas and at the same time the Shibir of my Indian Guru. And when I listen to the discourses of my Guru, of course I love what I hear, it's very inspiring. And I was lucky because although Swamiji is speaking in Hindi, this time there was also an English translation at the same time. So I could see and hear Swamiji speak Hindi, but at the same time I always also had the English translation, so I could actually understand what he was talking about. And of course there were many things which inspired me. Most of the things I had heard before, but then you hear them again and it's like you hear them for the first time, or they touch you in a new way, in a deeper way than before. But the actual interesting thing for me is not that which I could experience immediately during listening. The Shibir lasted 8 days, so every day in the afternoon I was listening. And after a few days I noticed something. It was like I changed. It was like my awareness, my consciousness shifted away from the normal life, away from the physical life and the body and what's happening in the world, and it shifted towards the inside more and more, as if I'm not interested in anything else, as if having my focus on the inside, having my focus on my soul, on God, on the crown chakra, as if this is the only important thing in my life. And it is. Yeah? It is like this, but I experienced this during these 8 days in a new way. It's a very subtle experience. It's very fine, but amazing. And this is the effects of the energy and the aura of such a guru. The energy and the aura of such a guru invites your own being and your own consciousness to join his level. And that's the beauty of a living guru. And I experienced this during this Shibir. And when this happens, all kinds of things are changed inside of oneself, but you have no idea what's going on. All this is not conscious. All this is not directly perceivable. But at the end of the 8 days, and then the next morning there was full moon, I felt totally done, as if I had hard work for 2 weeks. Yeah. But I wasn't doing anything. I was ill and just listening. And that is because so many things are being changed and shifted inside of the body, inside of the chakras and the consciousness, and we don't know anything about it. It's all being done for us. Yeah. We don't even have to know about it. And I had these experiences in the past that after such an event, my life changes. And it's only natural. Often you hear that your outside life is determined by your inside. How you function inside, that is being reflected in your outside life. But you cannot change your inside directly. You cannot program it. Yeah, you cannot cheat like this. But when you are being changed by a living Jesus, so to speak, by a living God, then inevitably afterwards your outside life changes too. So I'm curious what will happen now in my life. But it's too early to tell about this today. And I want to report an experience I had. Actually, I had this experience during this Shibir on the second to last day, but I had a similar experience 4 or 5 years ago already once. At that time, that was also during Christmas time. At that time I was in a Christmas retreat with my spiritual master Soham. And during that Christmas retreat, we also listened to a Swamiji Shibir, which was happening at the same time, also back then. And during this Shibir, in one day, Swamiji spoke about an Indian saint I hadn't heard before. That was totally new to me. The name of this saint is Shirdi Sai Baba. He was a saint living in the end of the 19th, the beginning of the 20th century in India. He was living in the town Shirdi. That's why he's called Shirdi Sai Baba. And Swamiji was talking about this amazing guru. And he was sharing that he once, when Swamiji was in Shirdi, giving a Shibir there, he was visited by Shirdi Sai Baba in his meditation. And Shirdi Sai Baba told him, listen, there's this new disciple of yours. And that disciple, he is my disciple. He was with me. And now he's ready. And I want you to give him the spiritual experience. I want you to open his crown chakra. And so Swamiji did. And I find this amazing. Swamiji talked about this at several occasions, that it is important to have a living guru in your life for you to experience your soul and for you to experience God directly. Maybe you love some guru who is already not in his body anymore, like Jesus or like Shirdi Sai Baba. And you love him and everything is great. But then when a living guru comes into your life, then it's a completely different experience. Then it is as if you are in the proximity of this saint again through the medium of this guru who is living now in your life. And so far this had been theoretical knowledge for me. But 4 years ago or 5 years ago during this Shibir, when Swamiji talked about Shirdi Sai Baba, I had an experience. I was sitting there, I was listening to Swamiji with my eyes closed. And while he was talking about Shirdi Sai Baba, suddenly somebody put his hand on my back. There was nobody behind me. I was sitting all by myself. But somebody was putting his hand on my back. And this was Shirdi Sai Baba's hand. He was touching my back. And I felt a love flowing from this hand throughout my entire body, which I have never experienced before. This love was such a deep message. I can use words, but it sounds so stupid. Yeah. But when you feel this love, you know everything is fine. Always. It's as if this saint was greeting me because I was his before. As if he said, "Don't worry, I am here." And as I said, these words sound funny, but when you experience it, it's amazing. And I experienced this saint through the medium of Swamiji, who is a living saint today. And then that's when I experienced this phenomenon for the first time, that you need a living guru to experience God. And then something really amazing happened. The next day, I told you I was attending this Christmas retreat with Soham at that time, and another man, one who was also part of the team around Soham, we were working together for Soham, a man I really love, and he had a conversation with Soham the next day in satsang, and he shared that the day before, when Swamiji was talking about Shirdi Sai Baba, he was sitting there and Shirdi Sai Baba's hand touched his back, and he was totally shocked and overwhelmed with love. This man reported exactly this experience I had. And then, of course, I had to share this too. And I just thought, all these miracles. You know, with these saints, with these true gurus, everything is possible. We cannot explain it. But when you experience it yourself, there are no questions. Now, I report this because on the second last day of this Shibiur, 4 days ago, on Monday, I had another experience. I was sitting there, my eyes were closed. Swamiji suddenly started talking about Shirdi Sai Baba again. And while I was listening, somebody put his hand on my chest. It was as if this hand touched my heart directly. It just went all the way into the body, into the heart. That was Shirdi Sai Baba. 4 years ago, his hand touched me from the back, and this week he touched me from the front, and it was as if something which he started 4 years ago got completed this week. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But something will happen in my life now. Something got completed. Something got done. And again, it happens through the medium of this living Guru who is in my life today. Jesus talked about the living God. And I didn't really understand what he was saying. I always thought what he means is that God is still with us today. Yeah, that God is alive and in our lives always. But now I think he means something else. I think what he was saying is God comes to you through a living God, through a living Guru, through somebody who is in his body, who is alive today, while you are here, alive. And for us Westerners, for us modern, intelligent, rational people, this sounds kind of weird, but when you have a Guru, this is a living God for you, because through the Guru, you experience God. It's not that you think, oh, this man or this woman, he or she is God. This is not the point. I know, and you know, that no person, no body can be God, because God is everywhere, and God is always. And the body is not everywhere, and the body was born, and the body will die pretty soon. So no body can be God. But through a living Guru, you experience God in you directly. That's the miracle. That's what Jesus meant by living God. For the disciple, the Guru is God simply because you are with the Guru and you feel and you know, I found God. I found God. You know this is not God, this man or woman in front of you, but it is God for you. And you can experience God through the Guru, and you can experience God. You can experience that Guru which you love. Maybe it's Jesus, if you are from the West, if you are a Christian. And then when you have the grace and the fortune that a living Guru enters your life, then for the first time, you experience Jesus directly. Then you know who was walking the earth 2,000 years ago. Then you start understanding him. I received a letter. Somebody asked me, I want to read out this question briefly. Somebody asked me, You explain the stories surrounding Jesus' life so beautifully and so different from what I have learned and believed. How do these other interpretations come to you? That's how they come to me. I don't know why I understand Jesus, but suddenly I do. And it is since Swamiji is in my life. I always loved Jesus. As a child, I loved Jesus. And this is a surprise because I grew up in a family where there was no place for religion. We never talked about Jesus or the church or anything like this. I think the word God was not used in our house ever. But I loved Jesus. I don't know why. It's part of our culture, part of, I just loved him. I didn't understand him. I just heard all the stories about him, and many of them I found beautiful, and some of them I found totally strange and weird. But I loved him. But when Swamiji came into my life, soon afterwards, I don't know when, a few years later, I just started understanding Jesus. Suddenly I understood everything what he said. I knew that's how he meant it. That's the real meaning. Because I had began to experience God in me. Yeah, Jesus was sharing about his experience of God. And once I started experiencing God in me, I knew what Jesus was talking about. And this experience comes through this living Guru to me. That's the grace. That's the big gift of a living Guru. There are many beautiful people in the church, but I remember there were times in my life where I tried to find God in the church. Yeah, this was long before I came to my spiritual master Soham. There was one time where I was married to a Catholic lady, a beautiful woman. And she was from a very Catholic family. And I always was curious. I wanted to know what is there. All these people they're so religious. They believe so much in God. I wonder what it is about. So I became Catholic. I learned everything about it, and I went to church with them. And I loved it. It was as if I could sense I could sense Jesus' proximity. I could sense God. But at the same time, I felt that I'm the only one in this whole building. The way these people talked about faith, about Jesus, about God was clearly indicating to me that they did not have this experience. It was theoretical. It was philosophical knowledge. But they didn't know it by themselves. And I met beautiful priests. I only met people who are sincere and good, but none of them knew God. Yeah. And then this time came to an end pretty soon. I received a letter. I want to quote a paragraph from this letter because sometimes I talk about the church and it might sound a little negative. And because of this, I received the following lines. I find it so wonderful how you speak of Jesus and of heaven. It warms my heart. I myself am a Protestant pastor, and I'm always looking for words to convey Jesus and what he calls the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven, which is his core message to people today. And you are a great inspiration to me. In some videos, you are sometimes a bit negative about the church. That always gives me a little sting when you do that. Yes, I also think that the church has done many things wrong in its history and has gone astray. No question about it. But it hurts me a little because I think that we, the pastors and many others in the church today, are no longer like the distorted image of church. Yeah, I briefly want to comment on this. Because I do not judge the church or the people in the church. It is just my experience that the people I have met in the church and the people I see today do not know God. They mean well, they try the best, but they do not know God. And this is not a problem. This is not the, it's like this. Once you know God, you will not be part of the church anymore. When you start to know God yourself, truly, directly, you will do it in your own way. Every saint in history was not part of the church. Sometimes the church burned them or killed them in any other way. And this is not only true for the Christian religion, this is true for almost every religion. There's just no space for this in the church. It's not the task of the church to provide this space. The task of the church is to preserve that energy and this message from its saint, in this case Jesus, as well as they can. So other people can pick up on it and then discover their own way. And that works. I mean, the church is made up of normal people, and this is why the church is in such a bad state, because all people are like this. It's not particularly negative about the church. This is just the state of humanity. And yet, it gives you the basic ground on which you can start discovering your own path. It is like religion is a ladder. Yeah? A ladder reaching from your normal life towards God. It's just a path. And it doesn't matter which path you take, whether you take the Christian path or the Muslim path or the Hindu path, it doesn't matter. It's just a path. But once you came to the end of the ladder, once you start discovering God yourself, you drop the ladder. The ladder has fulfilled its purpose. Yeah. And then you are alone with God. And it has always been like this. Jesus was talking about the black sheep on two different occasions. He said, there's this flock of sheep, 100 sheep. That's the church. That's humanity. Yeah. One day, one of the sheep, the strongest, got astray. It went out into the wilderness. And it's always the strongest who do this. And what does God do? God leaves the 99 sheep behind and searches the one. And when he found the one, he took the one into his arms and said, I love you more than the 99. And that's how it is. In order to meet God, you have to leave the flock. And that's natural. It's not, you don't have to do this because there's something wrong with the flock. It's like this not because there's something wrong with the church. It is like this because meeting God is an inside journey, an alone journey, a unique journey for everybody. And that's why all the saints have not been part of the church. Of course, some of the saints the church made into some iconic figures, but the person itself was unique, went its own way. Yeah. And then sometimes around these saints, around these Christian saints, new Christian groups were forming because they didn't fit into the old church. And that's natural. It's normal. It's not a sign that something is wrong. It happens like this with every saint. Jesus was a Jew. But when he found God, he was alone. And when you find God, you will be alone. And it's good like this. Now, one of the things I observe is that many people have the feeling that they already know what this life is about. They love Jesus and they think, I don't need anything. I don't need a guru. I love Jesus already. I have Jesus in my life. Or there are people who have an enlightening experience and suddenly they perceive life completely different than before. And they think, I know it. This is it. Now I discovered what life is about. And I keep telling people in my videos over and over again that this is just the beginning. Yeah, your love for Jesus is just the beginning. Your enlightening experience is just the beginning. There is so much more you have no idea about. I wanna briefly talk about how humans learn. There's an interesting phenomenon I want to talk about. When you start learning something new, for instance, programming. I love to do computer programming. I rarely do it these days because the videos take more and more time in my life and I like it like this. But when I learned programming, there's an interesting phenomenon, and many programmers know this. You start out in this new field. Yeah, this is something totally new for you. You never programmed before, and you learn it. And very soon, very quickly, you just totally love it, and it feels like you can do anything with this now. Yeah, you discover this new world opening up in front of your eyes, and you feel great, and you feel competent. And in a very short time, you have the feeling, wow, I know how this works. I can do this. Great. You feel like a master. You feel really competent. And this is normal. Now, you're not competent at all. You have no clue, but you don't know this. In the beginning, you have the experience, oh, that's it. I know it. And that's the point where most people stay at. They don't go further. They start with something, they feel good, and that's where they stop. These people are called dilettantes. Yeah? They don't know what they're talking about, but they don't know that they don't know. And that's why they feel so good. But then, some of these people, they stay at it. They are just so curious. They're so full of compassion for this new thing they're learning that they want to keep learning. And when these people keep learning, what they discover more and more is how little they know. They start discovering all the things they don't know. They come into this phase where they know, I don't know. Yeah? In the beginning, this is the curve of perceived competence. In the beginning, you're high up on that curve. You feel like an expert. And you don't know that you're not an expert, but you feel like it. And then comes a time where this curve goes way down. You learn more and more all the things that you don't know. More and more you feel like a failure, like a loser. You feel wrong. You feel like, I will never learn all this. This is amazing. There's so much to learn and so little I know. Yeah? And that's why most people stay at the first point. Yeah? Their ego protects them from that. But they stay dilettantes all their lives. But some people go on, and then they go into the valley. And then, when they're hitting rock bottom, that's when they start learning the basics of the trade, in this case programming. They start slowly, they just keep at it. And then they begin to learn more and more. And then for the first time, after a long time of feeling hopeless and incompetent, for the first time they get the feeling, I know only little, but this little I know how to do. That's when real competence starts to developing. Very tiny in the beginning, very slowly, but it's real. And then they keep learning and learning and learning. And this learning has no end. They just get more and more competent, more and more experienced, more and more. And they don't feel bad anymore. This learning is full of joy. And it's so much fun to discover more things they can learn. Yeah. And these people, they get really good at what they're doing. They become the experts. But only few people arrive there. Most people stay at the first spot. They stay in this comfort zone of not knowing how little they know. Some people keep going, and then they go into the valley, and they feel incompetent. They feel, there's no hope, I will never learn this. And some people lose hope there, and they stay there. Or they just abandon the project. Yeah. But those who stay at it, then they climb the curve again, and then they discover all the things which are to be discovered on that path. And the same is true in spirituality. Most people who start on that spiritual path stay at the first spot. Either they are in this comfortable zone of, I love Jesus, for instance, yeah, or in India they worship some deity and they feel good about it. But this is extremely superficial. This is not what God is about. But most people stay there. They're comfortable in their love for their saint, or some people have an enlightenment experience, and they're content with that, with this one experience. They just stay there. But that's just the beginning, not the end. And some people keep going. They think, oh wow, this is interesting. This is something I've never suspected would be possible. What is this? I want to find out more. And then they start discovering. And in the spiritual field, it is like this. When you start truly turning inwards, you discover a lot of things you don't know, And you discover a lot of things you don't want to know at all. How small you really are, how little you really know, how stupid you really are. Yeah. Yes, I learned this. You know, for me, the ride on that curve began 23 and a half years ago, when I came to my spiritual master, Soham. It's almost 24 years ago now. And I remember this so well. It's kind of embarrassing for me. I came to him, and in a very short time, I felt so good and so wise. I wrote him beautiful letters. I just understood everything. I felt great. I felt wise. I felt enlightened. But by some grace, I stayed. I experienced many people with the same experiences like I had. And some of them just went off and they were happy with this. But by some miracle, I was not content with this. I just stayed. I stayed with my master. And this phase of high perceived confidence, without knowing anything actually, this lasted only a very short time for me. Maybe a year or so. I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe a year or two. And then I started the second phase. It went downhill, way downhill. I began to discover the truth about myself as a human being. I discovered that I didn't know anything. I discovered so many things about myself. I always thought I'm good at this, good at that. I discovered I'm not good at this at all. I discovered for the first time in my life my limitations. How little I am as a human being, actually. But I stayed at it. Years and years and years. And I don't know, I'm slow. It doesn't mean that it has to be that slow for you, but I think it took at least 15 years. And then slowly, I started learning the basics. Swamiji came into my life. The Guru. And with him, God. And slowly, I started learning. That's what I try to bring across in each and every one of my videos. It is not about having an experience, feeling good, and that's it. It is not like this. God doesn't come that easy. The whole process is totally simple. Yeah, it's really easy, but you need patience for it. It just needs time. So everybody who thinks, I'm already there, I want to tell you, you don't know what's possible. You have no idea. All the saints I know, the living saints, I know two living saints, Sohamji, my guru, my master, and Swamiji. They both keep learning. They're still on their way. They're giants, they're spiritual giants, but they're on their way. They still learn more and more surrender. They still meditate. They still surrender to their gurus. Because this has no end. There's a very famous Indian saint, very well known in some spiritual circles in the West, Ramana Maharshi. And he used to tell his disciples, ask yourself the question, who am I? And when you ask yourself this question sincerely, the answer you get is a very, very deep silence. But this silence is not the answer. This silence is the way. But many people are just happy with this. And that's why you can read many books or watch a lot of videos from Advaita people who believe this is it. This is it. It's really easy. It's all no problem. It's totally easy. And it is easy, I agree. But it's not quick. You just discovered the door. Now walk through it and discover the path behind the door. And when Ramana Maharshi was dying, he said something. Of course, I don't know whether he really said this. I just read this somewhere. I wasn't there when he was dying. But he was quoted to have said, "Forget this question, who am I? There is so much more." That's what he said just before he died. And that's what I tell you. Don't be content with what you have. God is much bigger. And that's the one thing I try to tell everybody. Be patient. Be patient. Keep at it. Meditate every day. Every morning, meditate. That's the one thing. Osho said, Osho is an Indian mystic who is very well known in the West. And he said, be patient. Yeah, he said, you meditate every day, and it feels like nothing is happening. He's talking about the second phase, yeah, where you feel completely incompetent. He says, you have the feeling that nothing happens. You do your meditation every day, but nothing is happening. Nothing is changing. And it is like this. But a lot is changing, but you don't know about it. And you need patience. That's the only thing you need. That's why Swamiji keeps insisting that when you meditate, don't have any expectations. Just meditate. Don't judge your meditation. Don't judge how well you are meditating. This is not the point. Just meditate. Be patient. Let yourself be carried through this second phase of complete and utter incompetence. This will pass, but it takes a while. Yeah, and the second thing I want to bring across is that we need a living guru to experience God. It just is like this. That's how you will experience the true grandeur of Jesus, for instance, when you are in love with Jesus. When you surrender to a guru, when a guru enters in your life, it is as if this guru is God for you. And of course, you know this person, this body is not God. This is clear. No body can be God because a body comes and goes, and God doesn't come and go. But you perceive God through this medium. And so this medium is God for you. Because through this medium, you begin to discover God in you. And then you have the feeling, I found God through this guru. So this guru is God for you. And then you understand Jesus and all the other mediums of God, all the other living gods. Yeah? And these are the two things nobody wants to hear about. Yeah? Nobody wants to be patient. And nobody wants a guru. Because this will kill your ego. The patience will kill your ego. Not having expectations will kill your ego, and the Guru will kill your ego. And this is the only thing which is necessary for you to discover God. And I'm talking about heaven, I'm talking about God, I'm talking about my experiences. I'm talking about arriving rather than, I say enlightenment is just the beginning. It's about arriving. But this arriving is not a point in time. I have not arrived, but I'm on my way. I'm arriving. And I will do this until the last breath I take in this body. And that's the invitation in this life. That's what this life is about. I have the feeling I only talked absolute nonsense in this video. I find it very difficult to talk about these things because my feeling is that most people feel rejection about this. But I talk about it anyway because I can't help it. Yeah. And if you made it up to this point in the video, I am very happy. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I love you.